in the north versus the south, but we're seeing the reverse with regards to COVID-19 vaccination. More people in urban areas are unlikely to get vaccinated. When we look at the age group, we can see in terms of vaccine hesitancy, I wouldn't say there's so much difference except for those age 26 to 35 years. Again, education is not really a big driver for likelihood to get vaccinated. You can see that for vaccine hesitancy, it ranges between 32 to 35% among the different education groups. When we look at the income level, household income, you can see that the more wealthy people are more unlikely to get vaccinated, which is again some of the surprises that we saw in our findings. Maybe they feel they have enough information to counter whatever advice they're getting, but that's kind of what we saw. Next slide. For those that say they're unlikely to get the vaccine, there are major reasons where COVID-19 doesn't exist. They're not worried about COVID-19 since it is not serious or life-threatening. They do not trust the vaccine, or they're worried about getting fake or counterfeit vaccine. Then we have the group that all believe in God. Then 8% that say the vaccine is not safe, and some other reasons. Next slide. This is a critical point, so I'll try to explain this as much as I can. Trust in government to ensure vaccine safety. So the question that we asked was, how much do you trust the government to ensure that any vaccine for COVID-19 that is developed or offered to Nigerians is safe before it is used in the country? 14% trust a lot, 33% trust somewhat, 27% trust a little, and 21% do not trust at all. So having this at the back of our mind, let's move on to the next slide so we can understand how this relates to vaccine hesitancy. Again, remember from the previous slide that blue represents those that are already vaccinated, green those that are likely to get vaccinated, and red those that are unlikely to get vaccinated. You can see that trust in government's ability to ensure vaccine safety is a huge driver for those that are not likely to get vaccinated. You can see from the slide that 83% you can see from the slide that of those that do not trust the government at all to ensure that the vaccine is safe, 83% of them are unlikely to get the vaccine. So if there's a way that we can improve on people's ability to trust that the government will make sure that the vaccine is safe, that might be something that will push people towards getting vaccinated. On the flip side, you can see that of those that trust the government's ability to make sure that the vaccine is safe or not, 69% of them are already vaccinated. Next slide. Government's response to COVID-19. Okay. 56% of Nigerians say that the government has done fairly well or very well in managing the response to the pandemic. But majority say that they're not satisfied with the government's effort to ensure that disruptions in children's education are held to a minimum and to ensure that health facilities are adequately resourced to deal with the pandemic. 7 in 10, 71% expressed dissatisfaction with the government's effort in providing pandemic-related assistance to vulnerable households. Next slide. So the question here was, how well or badly would you say that the current government has managed the response to COVID-19 pandemic? 56% said fairly well to very well, so that's the pass mark. Next slide. But when it comes to how satisfied people were with government's response to COVID-19, with regards to, one, ensuring that disruptions to children's education is kept to a minimum, 61% were not satisfied at all. Making sure that health facilities have adequate resources to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. 56% not satisfied at all, not satisfied. And then providing relief to vulnerable households, 71% were not satisfied with how the government handled that. Diving into COVID-19 relief assistance. Next slide. The key takeaways is that 89%, that is 9 in 10 Nigerians, report that their household did not receive COVID-19 relief assistance from the government. 8 in 10 Nigerians say that the distribution of COVID-19 relief was somewhat unfair or very unfair. A large majority, 83% of Nigerians, say they believe that some or a lot of the resources intended for the COVID-19 response has been lost to corruption. Only 2% of people that we spoke to think that none of these resources have been embezzled. Access to COVID-19 relief. So the question is, since the start of COVID-19 pandemic, have you or your household received any assistance from government like food, cash payments, relief from bill payments, or other assistance that you were not receiving before the pandemic? Only 12% said that they received any assistance. So we have 89% of people that didn't receive anything. Next slide. If we now look at the demographics, you find out some very surprising things that stood out. When it came to gender, there wasn't really any much difference. When it came to location between south and north, there wasn't any difference in terms of those that have received and those that haven't received. Same thing with urban and rural, just 12% in rural and 11% in urban. When it came to, so this is where things get interesting. When it came to income level, surprisingly, 16% of those that don't have any experience of poverty said they received, while those that are in the poverty, only 12% has received. So again, this begs the question, because I do know that during that pandemic that the goal was to get to the indigent population, but it doesn't reflect in the data that we found. Again, when it came to education, even though there might not be so much difference, you see that there isn't any, in terms of education, it didn't really like as I would have expected to see people with low education get more relief than others. The only place that we have significant difference was in age. So for those 56 years and above, 18% of them said that they got some relief materials. Next slide. Was COVID-19 relief assistance distributed fairly? The exact question was, do you think that the distribution of government support to people during the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, through food packages or cash payments, has been fair or unfair? Only 17% believe it was somewhat unfair or very fairly distributed. Next slide. On perceived pandemic-related corruption, the question was, considering all the funds and resources that were available to the government for combating and responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, how much do you think was lost or stolen due to corruption? You can see from the color schematic, 54% said a lot, 29% some, 9% a little. So we're looking at almost 92%. Right, yes. Almost 92% that said that some form of it was lost to corruption. Only 2% said that nothing was lost to corruption. Next slide. And just before we move on to the next slide, it's important to kind of reflect on that, because this is actual data that supports, I'm sure that's what most people's opinion were and the experiences that we had. I will never forget those pictures of the palliative warehouses that kind of went around during those. So looking ahead as we're moving forward to what do we do, what lessons did we learn from, or what lessons should we learn from the COVID-19 pandemic? 50% of Nigerians see the government is justified in using security forces to enforce public health mandates during a pandemic. We'll get the fine details of what this question was trying to achieve. But fewer people consider it justified to postpone elections or censor media reporting. 41% of Nigerians think their government will not be prepared to deal with future health emergencies. And 6 in 10 Nigerians agree or strongly agree that the government needs to invest more in preparing for future public health emergencies, even if it means that fewer resources are available for other health services. Let me just put that in perspective. Despite the perception of corruption and loss of funds due to corruption during the COVID-19 pandemic, people still feel that the government should invest more in preparing for future pandemics, even if it means that they have fewer resources to attend to regular health services. Next slide. So this is the question on people's what people think government should do during pandemic. So we're asking, the goal is to know whether people think that we should limit some of our democratic freedoms during a public health emergency. So, for example, use security forces to force people to do things like wear a face mask and physical distances or wash your hands. Or if there is an election that requires people to gather together, should they postpone that election because there's a public health emergency? Or should we send some media during public health emergencies? And the relevance of these questions is that I know during the early periods of the COVID-19, there was issues around fake news and should we allow people to report anything that they want to report just in case of inciting people. And then I think there was an election in one of the states. I think was it was the Edo State, yeah, exactly, around that period. And then the issue of Nigerians refusing to practice the preventive measures, as in the three measures that were being pushed. No, sorry, still stand up. So we can see that when it comes to using security forces to enforce public health mandates, we can see that 50% agree or strongly agree that we can do that. As opposed to 35% that disagree or strongly disagree. However, when it comes to the other things that has to do with freedom of association and the freedom of speech, you can see that only 43% of people believe that they should postpone the elections in case of emergencies. Even much fewer than 35% believe in censoring media. So I think in people's response is, in as much as you allow people to practice their rights, when it comes to enforcing things that we're sure that can save us, it's okay to do that. I know this is going to be a very debated topic because who then draws the line and when excessive force is used on that. But at least it shows that people are a bit more understanding when some rights have to be given up for the betterment of the public good. Next slide. In terms of preparedness for future health emergencies, after experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, I think this might rephrase this because we have not yet finished experiencing it. But after experiencing the initial period, how prepared or unprepared do you think the government will be to deal with future health emergencies? 47% feel that the government is somewhat prepared or very prepared for future health emergencies, but 41% feel that we're not prepared. So we still have a lot to do. Next slide. So this is a question on asking if the government should invest more to prepare for future health emergencies. So 61% agree or strongly agree that the government needs to invest more to prepare for future health emergencies. Only 32% disagree or strongly disagree that they should do so. So in conclusions, our key takeaways. One, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a major economic impact on Nigerian families, worsening the country's already embattled economy. And that is a fact of ground. Only a minority of Nigerians have been vaccinated, and trust-related issues drive vaccine hesitancy, as many Nigerians do not trust the government to ensure that the vaccine is safe. Overall, Nigerians are fairly satisfied with the government's handling of the pandemic, including its effort to limit the disruptions to education, keeping health facilities open, but they are less satisfied with the distribution of aid relief, and the majority believe that resources meant for fighting the pandemic were lost due to corruption. I think this is the last slide. Because the final thing that I'll say is what the numbers have shown us is that the impact of COVID reached everyone, and it also confirmed people's feelings that the COVID pandemic relief were not distributed fairly and equitably. However, despite that, people still feel that the country did fairly well in managing the pandemic, and still believe that we should try and invest more to prevent future health emergencies. As while we are going to go into the next round, I'm just going to say something again. This data is publicly available on the Afrobaromter's website, and there will also be a link to that on the NYPO's website. Please play around with it. You can do your own analysis. You can ask any questions, or you can even try and compare it from previous rounds. But the data is publicly available, and the more we interrogate the data, the more we come to grasp what is going on in our country. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for that presentation, Dr. Chike. As lengthy as it is, you tried to make it as brief as possible. Thank you. All right, like I said, we'll be very fast at this point. We're going to have a panel of discussants. Basically, we'll just be looking at the issues that have been thrown up from the findings of the poll. And so we're going to ask questions as regards the poll findings. So we have just two people who will be on that panel. We have Professor Magdalene Igoro. She is HOD Social Sciences, University of Abuja. We also have Dr. Dale Iwat. He is former AG, FCT Primary Healthcare Board. When we look at the findings of the poll, we see that it talked a lot about COVID, it talked about the vaccine and people's hesitancy in taking the vaccine. So I probably would ask, how many of us here has taken the vaccine? Please show with a raise of hand. Okay. Okay, maybe we should even ask why the ones who haven't. Some people are looking at me like, why you are taking? I can see one person from here like, seriously. So maybe I should be asking why you haven't taken the vaccine. Let's not go there. No, we would really like to know why people haven't taken the vaccine. Okay. For some people, they are still not convinced about the fact that there is a need for a vaccine. Maybe some others think, I mean, we can drink the woodshed, whatever it is will go away. And some of them don't trust the vaccine. Okay, whatever your excuses are. So whatever the excuses are, we hope that those of you that haven't taken the vaccines will at some point make up your mind to take the vaccine. So we'll go on from here. We'll have first. We'll have Dr. Ibolo, Professor Ibolo. Sorry. I'm wondering how we're going to do this panel. Okay. Okay. So we use. Great. Okay, so we also have members of the press, men of the press here also. So I would also want them to start throwing the questions. We'll put forward our own questions at some point, but I would want the men of the press to comment with asking questions with regards not just the findings of the poll generally, but generally on issues of COVID-19 pandemic and the vaccination and all of that. And as part of that panel, Dr. Chikema will be part of that panel, considering the fact that he just ran through the presentation, the poll findings. So let me start with Mr. Sonny Dachaba. I'll start with you. Okay. Please, you do us a brief introduction, and then we'll take it up from there.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sonny Dachaba. I write for Good Print newspaper. Thank you for the privilege of asking this question. But before this session came up, I was within me asking somebody somewhere where we are with regards to COVID-19 at the moment. Because there was a time, probably 2 months ago, government decided to step down all the protocols on COVID-19. Okay. So government decided to step down all the protocols on COVID-19 and go to some public places like that. You are still required to obey all the protocols like putting on face mask, etc. But if I can take your mind to what happened last weekend and what is happening this day at the Eagle Square. I'm not sure that kind of protocol is still obeyed. So let me ask, where are we now with regards to COVID-19? Thank you.
Okay, we'll get the response of that, or do we ask a few more questions and we'll get the response? Okay, let's ask a few more questions. Let's.
Okay, good morning. My name is Ibi from Nigerian Pilots. And I think it was 2 months back, we actually had a training for journalists. And we were actually supposed to write reports on the whole COVID and what's happening. And many of us, after the training for 2 days, were like, presently, there's really like nothing to write about COVID. But I was so happy when Madam Lady sent me the message and it has to do with COVID. So, like you said, apart from the fact that where are we going with COVID, what do you people expect? Yes, you've said a lot, and from all the findings from your report, it's obvious that there's a lot of things that happened from COVID to household issues and then health-wise. But what do you really expect the journalists to be doing as regards COVID? What do you expect us to be reporting? What do you want? What more can we do? Thank you.
So just to add to what I said before, I'm probably what you said. When the Russian-Ukraine war started, if you notice, attention shifted from COVID-19 report to war. Suddenly, everything about COVID-19 ended. And people began to assume that could this thing be mere kind of theory that never existed? How come COVID-19 suddenly disappeared? Is it that the bullets in Russia and whatever took them away? You know, because really, I mean, everything we were told about COVID-19, all are yet to have gone. Okay, so it's very curious if you can be enlightened with this. Thank you.
All right, I think we should respond to this first and go back to the audience. Dr. Ebola, should we start with you? Professor Ebola, sorry, should we start with you? Okay.
Right. Thank you so much. Today by Jesus, I've got to take this one first. I'm Dr. Imo Tanaya, I'm the media part and the secretary of City College Board. At the moment, I'm the chairman of the Jima Community Care Foundation. And I want to congratulate the Afrobaromter partners for this very important, critical study. In fact, this is long overdue, and this is a very bold step. We have done something that we could have had long time ago, and we are over a year into prevention in this country, and there's no more news that we have in-country evidence. Instead, every week and every state has evidence of this pandemic. It's still a pandemic, it's not called. So I want to also thank all the stakeholders, the panelists, particularly the staff from the university, and the champion of this barometric assessment, and everybody else. We also have people that have also been on the field of communication of the pandemic, the breakthrough action, Nigeria IP, working with the USAID funded activities in FCT. So I would say that coming to your observations on Monday, I want to tell us that the pandemic is still on, it has not been called off. When an outbreak becomes a pandemic, that means it's global. Anywhere you are in the world, you are vulnerable. You are more likely to have it than if you are outside this world. So, in as much as we remain in this world on earth, the pandemic is on, and nobody should let down his or her guard. And I'm happy that this study has exposed a lot of things, and the only thing I can talk to you that is whether can we take this as a validation meeting, because we want to quickly do something that will give us global evidence and other agencies, other people interested in the subject matter can mine your data and apply them for management decision making and also to influence other interventions. So, in country, as I speak to you now, the journalists should also be talking to yourselves. Those of you that are in FCT, your council is very powerful. The interaction on this particular intervention, vaccination has been very encouraging. And I know that so many times that chairman have been inviting the FCT team to come vaccinate people there, even up to the booster dose. So we shouldn't allow that to take us off. And even as I speak now, the uh, UNICEF as is supporting FCT and 56 steps with risk communication. So you should also have deliberately have a case officer who should partner with government and get into the mainstream of action. So we are not regulating the information. We are not reaching those that should have the message. Everybody just feels that there's something going on. And I know that NCDC, even with the outbreak of the monkeypox that we are having now, many of the preventive measures, the non-hospital preventive measures for monkeypox also apply to COVID-19. And we were asked to escalate these hospital preventive measures so that we can prevent a lot of infectious diseases. So COVID-19, if we look at the country report, we still have cases today in the hospital. The hospital cases have been confirmed. And those are people that are so sick they can no more pay down come for the test. There are those people that are sick that are having it, they are not going for test. They believe that they are treating by themselves. And this is putting me on another point that people that had been treated before now who were actually sick, they were more interested in having the kind of doctors were giving them, and when they were discharged, they now turn themselves into prescribers without prescribing for family members. So that is what we are seeing in this country. That people are taking to the over the counter affair, and people just stay at home and begin to consume drugs. You know, and they don't want to test, they don't want to be report of things. This is that if you follow through, you may see that they are more likely to be those that somebody is overwhelming, or they might have come from areas that are also having active transmission now, that they have evidence that they are having the pandemic on another scale. So if we lay down our guide, yes, there was that advice initially when the numbers were going down to zero in this country. So very few Christians were reporting that. And when we had those red zones, people coming from red countries, that's something that the transmission was very high that time. That if you're only people that coming from that place, they will require that. So and those that have boosted their vaccination, their vaccination rate, they were also like redemption. The right say we're having issues because in this country we were yet to achieve 50%, at least 50%, so we require at least 50% of the population before you could now say that there's so much of 10 people are vaccinated before you can associate, let's try to see whether we can get that. Yeah, so it is not 200 million, it's not 100% of the population. It's about 51% population that is in the target group. So that 200 million that you are seeing, take it to 100 or something million people should be vaccinated. And the country's plan is that by the end of 2022, December 2022, we should achieve something 10% of the target. So that will translate to the numbers that can forecast and precision. So what have we achieved in this country? The average have achieved. The average is that our state began good, okay, about 4 or 5 countries have grown up to 50% and above. On second dose, so if you look at the numbers and you look at the performance across the state, you will see that it's not yet time for us to say that people can go off guard and be free, not observing the non-social to see. And the main drivers of organization in this country has been the compulsory requirements, institutional travels that would force you to do it. Otherwise, the resolution to what? Otherwise, very people wouldn't even be reached. And we advising that as we are doing this, we also start as an avenue to let people know that the pandemic is still on, and we are going to have multiple benefits from even observing the non-social like during the mask, using the sanitizer, and washing our hands, using the social media. But it feels like more people that are coming up now that also be protected. And I want you permit me to also make some other observations. When it comes to palliative and the sampling was random, getting up to the sample frame and we're looking at it was a random sampling method that has been applied, but you are delving into education because I know that all states we were focusing designated the population that should be having the palliative. And it should be those that are living below $2 a day or $1, $1 to $2 a day. The forest of the body needed for they were looking for register for logbooks that are demonstrating or giving us the location of these people in the community. The community leaders they were involved. And for instance, in FCT, I know that they are estimating the economic resource next to use for the first time a comprehensive and credible logbook for people living on the $2 a day in this FCT across the 52 wards of the FCT involving and engaging the community leaders appropriately. So by so doing, it was possible to move the communities to the communities. So if we were to evaluate performance in that sector, we would also love to see where we will now, because this will be a biased sampling, and actually go down to how the register and see those, the register many of them, what proportion of those ones had access to what was available to them. And then the people that did not have work, the people that we would love to see, we ask people, were you employed before, do you have a bit of revenue income before the pandemic, so that we can answer, oh, this is why, because look at people that have been educated, not having, losing jobs, we were there so at the same instance, so those are the kind of things that we have got to also look at. So I want to say that this is a very good gathering, and I want to encourage us, even in this group, that the militancy is no more fashionable. Issues of non-compliance coming from vaccine not being said. It is it's no more fashionable. We have inconsistent data to show you that it is well with the vaccine. So people should rise up to education and take it so that you will be safe and allow us to quickly go into that area. You don't need to observe. Even very much is not that. So you will be reminded we have to enforce compliance law. We don't want to be doing that. We should advise ourselves and do the
Thank you very much, sir, for that. I think that was quite elaborate. Do we have anybody else on the panel who wants to speak to that?
Yes,
Okay.
I just want to add to what you have said. Good morning, everybody. My name is Professor Meg. Okay, so I'm the head of Department of Sociology, Faculty of Social Science, University of Abuja. Just to add to what he has said, I know that these questions around whether COVID is real, whether it is a fluke, whether government just used it to share money to themselves and all that, it's always been there. Anywhere you go, you get to hear these questions come up. But I tell you, COVID was not a fluke. COVID is still real as real can be. It is still with us. It is everywhere. Except that because of the efforts that have been put in place, the level has somehow reduced. I mean, if you follow the news very closely, I know you guys are journalists, and sometimes you take some of the things for granted. You give us the news, but you don't listen to the news. So, so a few days, I think about 2 days ago, there was a report on Pakistan or Afghanistan. The current, within 24 hours, they reported about 120 something cases of COVID within 24 hours. So that means it's still there. So I just believe that why we are not getting so much hype about COVID is that a lot of other events have overtaken the report on COVID. For instance, the example you gave of Russia and Ukraine, I mean, people cannot be dying for something they didn't plan for, like that, and then they won't be focused on that report. Okay? Somehow, the rate of deaths arising from COVID has also dropped because if we go to these advanced countries, most of them are putting so much, they've invested so much into COVID and all that. And so the rate of death has dropped. So we can actually see that the emphasis is shifting from COVID to economic recovery, which is what they are actually, going through or suffering right now. Most countries are struggling to recover from the effects of the pandemic, not necessarily because the pandemic is over, but because they have at least struggled to put it in check. And so they are now trying to recover their economies to cope with what's an exception. Now, because we have also managed to pass through that stage, so many things have overtaken the report on COVID and all that. But if you go back to NCDC website, you will see that there's a report on the test that has been done, and they reported about 211 cases within the last 2 weeks. So it is still there. As much as people are afraid of going for tests or taking the vaccine, the COVID is still in existence. Now, I mean, we all know that politics is here, and everybody seems to just be overwhelmed by the activities of politics and politicians. So nobody will be interested in talking about COVID. In any case, the people who are doing the politics are probably those who have been vaccinated. And so they are not worried about COVID. So they can actually call gatherings anywhere and sit, and they are confident that even if there's anything that is going to happen, it won't affect them. Yes. I mean, the example was given of, in the middle of COVID, there was an election in Ondo and Osun State. And nobody did anything about it. But that's about us as Nigeria. We take a lot of things for granted. In fact, we actually joke about some of these things, except if the thing affects a particular big person, and then we start, worrying about it, or they start worrying about it. Because some of us are worried, even though it doesn't. We are not. I mean, I'm vaccinated, so sometimes even when I'm in the car, I don't get. I was actually relieved when they say we should stop wearing masks. Yes, because for me, when I wear masks, I tend to be choking. So when they say we are lowering the whatever, we can stop wearing masks in public, I thank God for it. But that doesn't mean that COVID has left us. It is still there. There are still people who have COVID. You know our attitude towards attending going to hospital. Some people have these things, they can go in the house and then they do whatever they do and they feel relieved and they are fine and it goes on. So it's still there. As far as I know, it is still there. The reports are still there that it's COVID and people are still suffering it, except that the hype that we had in 2020, 2021 is no longer there. So as journalists, I will say, okay, keep looking for the information. It is still there. You can still report. You still have a lot to report about what is going on with COVID. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Igulu, for that. While we were talking, a few more people walked in. All right, we have Dr. Rukayat. Dr. Rukayat Wamako walked in. I've been calling and she finally meets us here. She's Director of Family Healthcare, I guess. Thank you very much for coming. FCT Primary Healthcare, thank you for coming. Also, Dr. Emmanuel Okwetu walked in. He's also Director of Primary Healthcare at J. You're welcome to. They have been calling and they've been coming from other events to still make it to this point. Some of the people are still stuck on somewhere, but we are grateful that these ones actually found their way here. All right, we'll be wrapping. Okay.
Sorry, I felt the need to just add one point to what has been said about this. Just to echo what Doctor has said. I mean, news is always fleeting. It's always going to be what is happening that is going to be in the news. And if you compare examples, yes, you give examples about Russia and Ukraine war, but if you open the news today in Nigeria, all you see is APC convention. That is what is on now. Until after Wednesday, maybe after they have announced their candidate, maybe on Thursday, you will get one small reminder. You just get one small reminder that Russia is still bombing Ukraine, and then move on to other things. So it's the same way with COVID. So now what you get is once in a while you get, oh, there's a spike of new cases in Pakistan like we had, or you even say that China that reported 0 cases is now reporting new cases because it's no longer let me use the medical term, no longer an acute issue, as in it's chronic, it's here, and that's why your question on what do you do as journalists is really critical. Despite the fact that it's not an acute case anymore, you can't stop the messaging on prevention and asking people to go and get vaccinated. That is still key, and once in a while, put it in people's consciousness, because the fact is that I think the dawn for everybody that COVID is not going anywhere, and the goal now is to try and achieve herd immunity. So whatever we can do to push towards getting herd immunity is what we can. I mean, so if journalists are asking what they can do as a group, is to try and see how they can contribute towards pushing for herd immunity, for more people to get vaccinated. And then yes, of course, we can't keep on wearing masks for the rest of our lives. So at some point, as the vaccination level goes up, the restrictions would drop as well. So those are the kind of balances that are ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have the opportunity to get the partnership with the government because right now they may utilize the vaccination. That is, they have to work with vaccination. It is good that you liaise with appropriate people so that now the director of permanent give us that message and tell us what they are doing right now.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon once more. So I just want to add a little bit to what our panelists have just contributed. So for the media, yes, we have a lot to do. We set the agenda for what people should be looking out for. So what we do in Breakthrough Action Nigeria is to actually we also engage the media. What do they do? Giving the right information. So we have different messages for different people. What messages are we giving? There are a lot of myths and misconceptions about COVID. So what we need to do in our messaging is to try to balance those misconceptions. Those myths, a lot of those videos they send on WhatsApp platform, Facebook, Twitter, we give it the right messaging through. So we have a lot of jingles that are ongoing now. Partners who support to make sure that in creating those jingles, we get the right information and not too congested. We get the information directly to our audience, our target audience. So as media partners, we have a great role to play here in giving out the right messages using all our platforms that are available to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to stand up. Thank you very much. You are welcome, sir. Yes. I welcome every one of you, and I'm sorry for coming late. I have to leave another very important meeting like this one to be able to make myself available here. I've been answering that I will be here, and I have to fulfill my promise. All has been said about COVID-19, and then what we are doing in the government now is that we are planning to utilize a COVID-19 vaccination. And then again, apart from being regionalization, we are also planning to see we integrate all the activities at the PHC level, the health interventions all in the primary health care level in achieving the health for all, that we integrate everything there, all the maternal and child health intervention, MNCH week, all other intervention, vitamin A is also being utilized so that all encompasses that if a woman, for example, comes to the facility, that she enters into the facility, she should receive all the services she needs. Supposing she comes for ANC and she is holding a small child along with her, and then if that day is not the day for routine immunization, for example, then that child is not going to be immunized for that day. So that is what we are trying to avoid. That means she has to undergo ANC and then go back and then come back on another day again for her to immunize her child and then come back for another day if there is any problem in the family. So what we are saying here is that when you come into the facility, you receive all the services you want. We are also planning to do an open maternity day and then PSC extension. What we mean by PSC extension is that we go for outreaches. The outreach before it was only for routine immunization. Now is integration of all the services, including COVID-19 vaccination. The inoculations will be carried along everything to reach out to the community for that intervention for the whole day and then come back to the facility and then fix another day for that. Thank you very much. COVID-19 is around, is still very much around with us, and it's just that we have to relax some of the preventive measures like use of face masks that people complain all about. Some people react to the mask, some people this. So when we achieve some level of immunization, we relax some of the measures. But that doesn't mean that COVID-19 is not with us. We can hear outbreak again, skeletal outbreak in other countries, and then the Nigerians, we travel a lot. We go into these countries, we come back. And then with the emergence of other diseases again, we are afraid of having a combination of diseases coming together, like monkeypox, and then also the wild polio virus that is also skeletal in other African countries. And then we travel, we go around, we come back home. Then in FCT, we are doing vaccination. We are doing reach out. We have vaccination site. And then we use Google to post out our vaccination points for people to see so that you can find yourself there. If you have your first dose and then you did not take your second dose, you are partially vaccinated. You just sensitize your immunity and then not fully sensitize enough to prevent you. And then when you take second dose, you also need to have a booster for your immune to be strong enough again to prevent you. And that does not mean that you will not take preventive measures. Because you know COVID-19 vaccination is the fastest vaccine done in the world. It's the fastest vaccine done in the world, I said it. Because there are series of scientific approaches and scientific work done before a vaccine is being produced. But COVID-19, because of its fatality, and then because of its pandemic, it affected all the world, then the scientists has to work over and over, night and day, to be able to produce the vaccine. In Nigeria, we were seeing no vaccine, no treatment for COVID-19. Now vaccination is here. Vaccine is available, and then people are not coming out to receive the vaccine because of fear of certain things that are being shared in the social media. And I would like to see here, including the healthcare workers, hesitancy in vaccination is also among the healthcare workers. And then the healthcare workers need to be engaged. If you are a healthcare worker, you are a scientist. And if you are a scientist, you need to believe in science. And then all these vaccines that are coming to Nigeria, we need to believe with our government. No government will allow their people to be exposed to something that is not safe. So Nigeria, under the NAFDAC, they scrutinize this vaccine for authenticity before being released for use. And we need to believe in that. And then we have to engage ourselves very well for us to understand the concept of COVID-19 vaccination, and then we receive the vaccine to prevent ourselves. And then we have to also go on with the other preventive, non-pharmaceutical preventive measures, use of hand sanitizer, washing our hands frequently, and also I never can tell. And then also the issue of economic turbulence during COVID-19 is still with us, it's still there. Some people are yet to recover. We get to understand that. So that is why the federal government has to put some laxative in the issue of lockdown and everything. In FCT, we are vaccinated, but people are not coming out. You know, when you are in FCT, you have all Nigeria has a representative in FCT. And then people in FCT are learning. We need to engage them very well, and then we need the support of media people to help us in doing that. I'm happy Breakthrough Action Nigeria is here with our good partner in demand creation for all our interventions, including COVID-19 vaccination. So we need to engage media. We need to, you people need to help us to announce, to talk to people, to speak to them, to make them understand that this COVID-19 vaccination is really is safe. And then I want to say, me and my former ESCA, we are the first people to be vaccinated. Because when the COVID-19 comes, vaccination comes, people were afraid, people were sad, and they lined us up. And then I remember that time, I said, sir, you really want to go first. Then after that, other directors, I say, I'm your woman, that you should go first. Like that, and then we were vaccinated. And today we are alive. We have taken after our booster about 1 year ago, and we are still alive. People were giving us 2 months to die. Then when 2 months reached, we didn't die. They say 3 months. When 3 months reached, we didn't die. They say 6 months. When 6 months, they say 1 year. They just say after 2 years. Now they have given us 10 years. Yes, so they keep on watching us to see whether we are going to die, and we are still alive here, doing well. Yes, and then we now realize that those that were not vaccinated are the ones that are dying for COVID. Then, if you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, even if you get COVID, it's going to be a mild one. It's going to be a mild one. And that is why we said, even if you are vaccinated, please try and take the preventive measures. Because this vaccine, as I said, is the fastest vaccine done in the world. And then it's still under testing. It's still under testing to see after the third dose, that is the booster, do you need it again? How many times will you take it? Because each vaccine has its own limit of inoculation. Some you will take them once and then you are over. It's just like measles. When you subject your child to measles vaccination, that does not mean that that child may not come out with measles. But if it occurs, it's going to be a mild one compared to the child that is not being vaccinated. Because so many things is being involved in this vaccination, transporting them. The cold chain, I have to say it here, the cold chain, how you transport the vaccine from abroad for it to reach Nigeria, from Nigeria, you have to maintain the cold chain, you take it to the various states, from various states to various vaccination points. The cold chain needs not to break. And you know, Nigeria is spending a lot of money to do that. Because I come across where people are saying, we work with the communities. People are saying, is it not the vaccine that we are donated the vaccine is being donated, but we are taking care of this vaccine. Maintaining the culture. Look at the erratic light issue that we are having. Provide this all over to see that the culture did not break. Because once there is no culture, that vaccine is invalid. So Nigeria is spending a lot for its people. For people to benefit, for people to get authentic something that can prevent them. So I urge each and every one of us, the social media and everybody, we are all advocates. We can all talk to people. We can all mobilize people. We have different groups. We have churches. We have mosques. We have business partners. We have market women. We have market men. We have youth. We have women leaders. We have everybody in the community. Our religious leaders, our traditional rulers are all advocates so that we can be able to vaccinate our people, so that we can even come out of the menace that we are receiving. If you are a Nigerian, you are going to London, for example, they will say you have to do PCR test. You have to present your PCR test. You have to be quarantined. Although there are some level of modification, but yet because we are unable to vaccinate 50% of our population. Wherever you are going as Nigeria in the world, you are subjected to all these restrictions. And then the fear of whatever. When you reach, you are a Nigerian, and Nigeria are not vaccinated, and then this and that. But when you go coming from London, you come to Nigeria, you come into Nigeria without any too much scrutiny and this and that. So all of those things are something that we need to look at. Why don't we vaccinate ourselves? What is there? We should come out and vaccinate ourselves. And then all those people that are talking a lot of things about vaccination, that there is metal there when you vaccinate yourself, electric dog will catch. It's a lie. It's a lie because I went to the market and bought the same bomb and I put my hand there and then the bomb catches by light. When I remove my hand and then it is there. The coin or key, you understand? We all do that when we are young. When you put saliva, you put it on your forehead, it stops. It stays there. Then when you remove it, gets removed. It doesn't mean that it's because you had COVID-19 vaccination. I want people to understand that some people are wicked. Those people, they vaccinate themselves and they don't want you to get vaccinated. And they're telling you all sorts of things about vaccination. They're still alive. They are running their life. And then they're telling you not to get vaccinated because you will be metallic or your chemical composition will change. Your genetic composition will change. It's a lie. Nothing will change. You remain as human being. If you are a man, you remain as a man. If you are a woman, you remain as a woman. Your genetic composition will not change. And nothing is going to happen. We are vaccinated and we will continue to vaccinate with the support of media. Please, media, assist us. We want to vaccinate. We want to routinise vaccination. But we need to get to certain limit of vaccination before we can be able to routinize. We are doing the process of routinization now because we have tested that people will stay in the facility and then we will not people will not come. But when we go out, we need so that then we get people to vaccinate. And then people who are saying they don't know where to go and get vaccinated. In FCT, our site for vaccination is everywhere. It's everywhere, and we have super sites. Super site in the office there. Even if you are not vaccinated, you are first dose in Nigeria. When you get to super site, we will sort you out. If you lost your card, we will sort you out. If you are unable to get all your data after you take it by yourself, come to super site, we will sort you out. All those complaints we can sort you out, please. Come out to get vaccinated. That is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was quite extensive. And I think our media people are happy with that. So you talked about the super sites. So we hope that people will take advantage of that. We'll wrap up soon, but we'll have to take Dr. Obetu, we'll have to take his comment, and Francis, your comment. But I want to ask before I do that, how does, I mean, this is me asking as a layman, how does it, are pregnant women allowed to take vaccines also? It doesn't have any implication on it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, every mother is now stepped down even 12 years and above. So that is another thing that the media should have to guide place. The vaccination, you know, this vaccine are being donated to Nigeria. And because of that, because we don't want to run short of vaccine, and then we started with the senior citizen, our elders, to protect them because we know they are elderly and then their immunity is not a strong one that we carry them. So then we now extend it again. We now say healthcare workers, so that healthcare workers can stay alive and then take care of us. Then we now say security. Our security people, they have to remain alive to be able to tackle our security issues. Then down to the community and every other person in the community. Then we feel the adolescent and then the youth are having strong immunity, but now we are getting more vaccine, then we are involving the younger ones so that they can also be vaccinated. So 12 years can be vaccinated, that is 18 and below can be vaccinated, up to the limit of 12 years can be vaccinated. So because of that, I urge the Breakthrough Action Nigeria, we need to review our jingles, then the media also, we need to review our jingles, we need to review our messages, so that and you have to bear with us. We have to keep on changing. We have to keep on changing so that we can be able to vaccinate the whole Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, so, good afternoon, gentlemen of the press. Thank you. So, I think first of all, I also apologize for coming late due to circumstances beyond my control. And again, as I said, I will not talk because on the pecking order, I have someone I would say is our former Chief of Defense Staff in the primary healthcare system in Nigeria, Dr. Ewodu is here. And I will also say Dr. Wamako has just spoken is like my DOC. So on the pecking order, I'm like a brigade commander. But at least I still command a brigade. So I will say a few things as a contribution to what my senior colleagues have said. I'm happy that we're having, I need the vital part, but because of the comments and discussions that I get, I'm able to make some contributions and make sense of what NY and Afrobaromter will represent, and hopefully I think it will be shared to us. There is really nothing like an iron curtain because at a point, if you look at what's happening in North Korea, people would have thought COVID will not get there. But eventually, in North Korea, they are reporting cases. So no country and no community can claim to be insulated. That also means no individual can claim to be insulated. Islands all over the world have reported cases. And one of the things that made us not to probably believe so much that COVID was serious, because the persons were at risk were elderly, and we already had a very low life expectancy in Nigeria. So people just felt at old age killer. But the truth is that some of the elderly people we lost in the last couple of years died from COVID. But unfortunately, we had an apathy to testing, and we didn't interrogate well what was killing and how COVID was contributing to deaths. But we have made some success which have been talked about, some of the things that have helped us to mitigate the trends. But we can step up some of these things, and the media has a role to play. The media should be able to interrogate what's happening with cases. For example, as media interrogated those who are dying, for example, from COVID, even no matter how few they are, have you found out what's their vaccination status? Those are some of the hard data you can use to promote and concretize the fact that vaccines do work. Because we, from a technical point of view, from the implementation and scientific point of view, we do know that most of the people who are dying or who have severe cases are people who are unvaccinated or undervaccinated. So these are some of the things that the media should also use their power of investigative journalism to interrogate and get concrete facts to lay credence to some of the things we are saying. What have we done a little differently or to concretize implementation, especially at the grassroots in communities where we have hesitancy? One of the things is getting the language directly to the people in the language they understand and in smaller groups to be able to have that discussion, if possible, at the compound level, at the community level, stakeholders meeting,
town hall meetings where people can ask questions and not necessarily rely on what they hear from radio and television. Because when they hear from radio and television, they can't ask radio and television questions. So people need that one-on-one touch in the community, and that's some of the things we do at our own level to ensure that we are able to address the issue of hesitancy. And by and large, we believe that we should not just feel that because cases are not being reported like Prof highlighted, that it is no longer there. And we should, there's the risk of mutations and that will lead to outbreaks. So we should not let our guard down. And where possible, the media should find a way to continue to put this in the consciousness of the public in all of the media, both social media and traditional media. Thank you very much.
Maybe I should just make my own contribution very briefly. Good afternoon, everyone. I also want to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Francis Chidozie Ogunendebo. I'm a researcher. I'm also a program management expert. First is to commend the conduct of this survey. While it was being presented, I was just highlighting a lot of things that were so good about it. It was able to touch various dimensions and manifestations of our experience with the COVID-19 management. When you talk about people being able to give up their rights to free movement and all that, just to make sure that their welfare is being protected, that the health issue is managed. They also talk about government wanting to go beyond that to cage the media and all that. So this report was the survey was able to capture all that, and that is commendable. But then I have two issues I want to raise. One, we have talked about the media aspect. One is when Dr. was speaking, he said that various measures, preventive measures, were being implemented or enforced at the points of maybe traveling outside Nigeria or maybe having access to official meetings. In my mind, what came to my mind is these things are elite activities. If we are enforcing the preventive measures of COVID-19 based on events that only happen to people in the urban area, maybe in the elite circle, how do we encourage compliance to preventive measures at the rural level? This is one concern that came to my head, and I want us to talk about it. Then secondly is the issue of using the lessons we have learned from the management of COVID-19 to advise government on how to act better. In what regard? We are talking about hesitation from people not taking vaccination. This hesitation is arising from a lot of things, including lack of trust. People were hungry, and then we saw palliatives meant for the people stored in a warehouse. People really feel you don't mean well for them. So that disconnection is there already. That suspicion that you don't mean well for them. So if you can hide palliative for me, why are you giving me vaccine? Are you sure this thing is okay? Is this thing really valuable that you give it to me? When Indomie is being, you understand that? To spoil. So that perception of the people on the intention of the government towards them, it is affecting both the management of a health pandemic like this and even implementation of other government policies. So how can we use the outcome of this survey to advise government on how they can build public trust and enlist and engender cooperation from the public to further their policy implementation? I don't know if my point came out very well. Yeah. So there are other issues, but because of want of time, I would want to stop here. But generally, I commend this presentation. So whoever will respond, sir, two issues. How do we enforce the COVID-19 preventive measures at the rural levels? Those in the market do not go to the airport. You can't enforce it at the airport, so they might not necessarily need it. Secondly, how do we use the experiences we have gotten as a people in the management of COVID-19 to advise government on effective policy implementation, building trust, and then getting cooperation from the people? Thank you so very much.
Okay, please, I want to just to add, because that question he raised was one of the reasons why I kept raising my hand to ask this question, because when you were speaking, the issue of management at the level of the rural populace, Now, because when you talk about, like you said, you can control it when people have to travel out of the country. What happens to when people have to go to a school, for instance? How is it going to be managed? Now, there is the experience I got when I went to take my own vaccine. I took my vaccine at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. And when I got there, I took the first dose. When I went to take the second dose, I was told that I think that day they didn't have vaccine or something. And somebody now suggested, why don't you go to town clinic and take it? And the nurse there just came and said, don't go to town clinic. Some of the vaccine they have is fake.
Imagine. For the health.
I don't know if you get the point. And she said, don't go there. You cannot guarantee what you're going to get in that place. So just wait and come back next week and come and take from here when we will have the vaccine. So that alone raises a lot of concern for me. I mean, for a rural person, maybe somebody who is not as educated, they may not bother. But I started thinking, could this be the reason? I mean, we all know that that's part of the reason why people are not going to take these vaccines. So, as primary health care, because you are in charge of these vaccines, what is really going on? Because people also believe that when these vaccines were first brought into Nigeria, they kept them, they didn't give to people. And when it was close to expiry, that's when they now released them. Please, I'm telling you from the point of view of somebody who hears what people say. Okay, so it is important that people get to educate people on this thing. Even when we are talking about the efficacy of the vaccine, it will not kill you, it will not do that. I know it will not kill you. Like I tell even colleagues of mine, professors like me, who are refused to take, they will tell you they don't want to die, they will not take it. Okay? But I tell them, they say if you take, you can fall sick, you can do that. I say yes. Like every other vaccine, when you take, there is always an effect. So go and take it, will not kill you. How much, for me, the National Primary Health Care is not doing enough in terms of sensitization. Because I'm not sure I've heard any jingle. If they are hearing me, I've not heard. Even on social media, I mean, this is what everybody is using to circulate information. I think this information should be available on social media, on every day. Somebody should be there to update and make sure that this thing circulates, so that we know that this thing is safe, it is available, you can take it without anything happening to you. And then the other one is the process of even taking the vaccine. You have to register online. It takes so long to register if the network is not friendly. You can take so long to register. And by the time you finish the registration, you go and meet a long queue. They will tell you, do your online registration first. If my mother is educated, I'm just using my mother, in one village who doesn't know anything about phone and how it works and how you can do online registration, how do you help this kind of people, to get this service without going through this long process of doing online registration before they are vaccinated? I think there's something wrong with that. If we are treating COVID vaccine like every other vaccine in Nigeria, then that part of it should be removed. There should be another way around getting people to be vaccinated and tracking that process without necessarily putting them through the process of going to do online registration before they are vaccinated. I don't know who is going to respond.
I will say something and then I will allow Ubetu to also add to it. Madam, thank you very much for such question. And then I would like to start by online registration. Online registration, we're talking about data now. And we're also talking about e-health. We're also talking because the world is global village now. And then for you to be able to give an account of Nigerians that get vaccinated, you just have to go easy. Because anything can happen to the hard copy. I agree with you. It can be stressful when the network is bad. But it is very simple when the network is good. Beyond the network, the queue. But when you come to the vaccination side, We have the data recorders, we have data capturers, we have validators at that point. These are the three people in the composition of team that vaccinate. They are part of the team. And these three people, their work is to deal with the recording and then validation of, and then even making correction for those that maybe when they were captured for the first time, when they come for the second time, because the way it is, you have to get your first dose registration correct before you will now link, before it will now send you to the link for the second dose registration, then for validation. So when there is problem for the first one, maybe when the first one was done, there was network problem. When they send it, maybe there was network problem, it didn't go. It's hanging somewhere. You understand? So when you come for the second dose, your information is unable to be found. Those people there will sort you out. They will make sure that they found your registration. If they could not find it, they will redo for you and then link you for the second dose and then for the third dose when you come, and also to validate you. So imagine if we are not doing that. Although we are doing hard copy also, I'm telling you, if you are to wait for the hard copy to be done, you will also get more bored. Because hard copy, they use tally sheet, they tally each and every individual that come for that vaccination. There is a big register that they will also register your name, your all the information with them, including your address where you come from. All those things are needed for you to get vaccinated. Because just for us to get accountability, just for us to get updates in Nigeria, how many of us have been vaccinated? Because the WHO have given each African country a mandate of vaccinating at least 40, minimum of 40% of your population. And I'm telling you, Nigeria, we are yet to achieve that. Today, we are yet to achieve that. So without this, how can we get that? I'm very sorry, Ma. Yes, I agree with you. It's stressful, but honestly speaking, we just have to do it that way. And we are trying to see as much as we can to see that we have gotten it. And when it is done, it's been sent straight away. It goes to national. It goes to DHIS2, where the Nigerian data is being captured. And imagine if you are vaccinated in Abuja and those people, the validators are online. Imagine in the whole Nigeria, all of them are online on that platform. On that platform. Because every day we must vaccinate. All over Nigeria, we must vaccinate. So we just have to exercise patience. I know people are eager, people are always in haste, people have one thing or the other to do every day, but also you need to spare time to take care of yourself and be healthy before you are able to do any other thing that follows. So you have to exercise patience for that. We need to talk to people in the community, media people are here to understand that. And that is why some of them, when we sit in the facility or at vaccination point, they don't tend to come because they feel they have some other things to do. But our health is in our hands. We need to take that responsibility. And that is why we strategize by making these teams to go out in the community, to markets, plazas, working places, offices, to go and vaccinate. So that we can reach out to people. I don't know, Dr. Obitu, if you have something to add. Thank you.
Okay, as soon as you're done, we are done for the day. So this is the last.
So, as the concerns are appropriate and valid. These are concerns that we have raised in the field. But to be honest, we have addressed those there. It's maybe not out there how we have addressed them. As a matter of fact, when you look at your concerns about our culture and
probably before I was born. So our purchase our vaccine are stored up to given to the rural areas are very reliable. So anybody that says that, are you sure you will get a good vaccine in Bogolada town clinic is being mischievous, because it is even the Bogolada town clinic that supplies the University of Abuja vaccines. If you go through the system, the University of Abuja gets its vaccines from the area council, where the hub is in the Bogolada town clinic. So you can see that is obviously a fallacy. Then the second thing is about rural persons being vaccinated and the issue of online registration. That has not been a problem. I lead the team in Kuje Area Council, and Kuje Area Council has the highest number of rural and hard-to-reach communities. And we have some of the highest coverage in some of our rural communities. How have we done that? The online registration is not a hindrance at all. It doesn't stop us from giving them vaccination. We give them, we record it on their card and on the registers. And if the online vaccination does not go through, we have a copy that goes with the health worker that they can use to update the online vaccination. And because we have a robust community linkage system, we can return the records back to them. And even if it is not done, whenever they come for their second dose, it can be updated. So, but it doesn't stop us from giving them the vaccination. So we don't have a problem with vaccinating rural persons because of. But the thing is that, just like my director has just said, we need that online platform to have a database that is reliable. And that's my responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been quite a robust conversation today. I don't know who was expecting this much, but this has been great. Thank you very much for bringing your wealth of experience and expertise to bear on this conversation. But we'll need to let everybody go. We can't hold you any longer than we've done already. So after we're done with this, would like to have a group photo with the panelists and everybody on that side. So we'd like them to come to the side so we can have a group photo and we can push this online. This has been really engaging. Please, just in case you don't have your email address clearly reaching or the registration form at the entrance, please do. We're going to be sending the slides across to everyone. A press release will be sent out immediately. The dispatch will be sent out also, and the slides will also be sent out. So you're going to get that as soon as we leave this place. We're quite grateful that you actually have to take our time to do this. I must also say here that we have these conversations. We are also going to have part of this conversation on Friday on Ray Power, 5 to 6 p.m. on what we call Data Chat. Data Chat is an NOI sponsored radio program that runs for an hour every Friday on Ray Power Abuja, where we have conversations on findings of polls and survey. So we are hoping that you'll listen in Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. every day of the week. So this is where we wrap it up. I am going to call on Dr. Chike to give the vote of thanks, and we can say over to everyone.
Let me join what I say once again. We're very grateful for everyone to make that time to come out here today, despite the challenges that are going on, where the focus is on now. I think today is a reflection of what we are also seeing, as in we're having this dissemination of COVID, but everybody is focusing on what is going on at the Eagle Square. But and we've heard everything that the panelists and the directors from the FCT Hospital Services. I think the key point for us to take away that is that COVID is still with us. We still need to keep up with the preventive measures, as well as with the push to get people to get vaccinated so that we can reach herd immunity. The director is going to share some of the vaccination sites for people to get immunized. And I also want to address a bit what Prof said. Because of, those challenges happened at the early part when there were a lot more people trying to get vaccinated versus the number of sites. I personally, as in fact, the day I got vaccinated, they couldn't, the server couldn't come on, so I had to go home and come back at Asokoro General Hospital to get the, so it is a very valid concern. But these are things that are being addressed. But the point remains that despite those challenges, we still have to get vaccinated and we still have to document that we've been vaccinated. Thank you, and like I said, there will be another series of dissemination events, and we're inviting everyone to come on as we keep on interrogating the data that we get from the people. Thank you, and do have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Can we have a little spot here? If you know you are vaccinated, please can you raise your hand? Be honest. You are vaccinated. I agree, I come late, but you see the problem.
We are going to take a picture.
We need to take look into our hands. We need to take our hands.
Nelly.
Yes, yes. I will have bring my identity here. To vaccinate everyone.
Yes. Yes, no, this test. We need a balance.
Let's have the
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. People will get everybody.
Yes, we get what I love the quality of discussion.
Yeah.
One of the best I've listened to.
Let's come together. Let us come together.
One of the best I've had.
How to keep all this habit?
Yes.
Not all the
So just come closer.
Nelly, you are going to the plant. Nelly,
It's
you
like
go
this.
to.
Are you telling them?
Yes.
No, I'm good here. Just beside
Nelly, you are not.
Can you tell us?
Is it right now? Oh, yes, right, yes.
Cheese.
So please just smile. Why are you stepping up? Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. That thing. I don't know what Oji is doing. This thing is. It will help us a lot, even with the Arab.
I love the
Because this thing.
That's why you asked
The people will keep
Are you sure?
This is not my
Yeah.